Marie Vibbert, ooh, look at that cover, is the Hugo Longlist Award author of over 80 short stories and 3 novels. Her work has been reprinted in Czech, Chinese, and Vietnamese and called Everything Science Fiction Should Be by the Oxford Culture Review. By day, she's a computer programmer in Cleveland, Ohio. Marie.
Okay, I'm taking it away. My giveaway is for my debut novel, Galactic Hellcats. So sign up and you can get a copy of this sweet bad boy. I will be reading from The Gods Awoke. I'm going to read from the end of chapter 3. And what you need to know at this point is that about a day of action has happened. There was a miraculous calm of fire. Nobody knows why, including our protagonist, Sene, who thinks she's a goddess and can hear everybody's thoughts. Also, most people in this story are telepathic. Okay. Night is never as calm as it looks. Insomniacs stare at walls. Delivery men go about finishing the day's work or getting a start on the next. My sisters wander the sky, passing through dreams and prayers and fears. They're getting more distinct now, but still wavering like figures seen through sheets of ice. I'm waiting to approach them until I have some solid knowledge, some advantage to use. They would be expecting tricks from me. Looking out on the deserted High Street circle beyond Penitent's Gate, which was closed, separating the temple from the city for the night, a man stood with a placard around his neck and crystal lanterns at his feet. The candles cast small circles of warmth and color in an area made large and gray by night. The placard said, "The gods have had enough. Sinners, make peace." The last 3 words were cramped, peace especially being near illegible, squeezed into the last bit of space. The effect was as if the idea was fizzling out. He had been surrounded by others all day, other placards, other candles, other signs. He was proud to have lasted into the night. He was also cold, tired, alone, and wondering if he was wrong. In the Middle City Hospital, an old man screamed, certain he was dying. The night nurse was more certain he was not. The trouble in his stomach was understood, but though a hospital full of telepaths really would rather give him the teas that cause sleep and ease pain, the decision had been made that such were too dangerous for this patient because of his age. The night nurse had explained this to him many times and gave him a bag of soothing salts to smell and an extra blanket. But still he howled as much as his breath allowed, pausing now and again as a child would to regain his strength, annoyance his only weapon against the cruel and uncaring nurses. So much misery, and no one was doing anything about it. It took just a pinch of my will, compressing the airway inside his throat, to halt him, and his body settled gently into the sweat-stained pillows. He should have had a soul, something freed from his suffering, floating out and away. But somehow, I missed it. Chapter 4, Visitation. Somehow, I missed it. In the watery pre-dawn light, Hitra stumbled out of her bathroom. She closed the door and then turned and put her hand on it, as though surprised it was solid. Eloy came into the bedroom, stopped and turned his head aside, then looked again, just long enough to verify that his mistress was in fact naked. His blood rushed to his skin and parts of him swelled, and he felt the nearness of her, the air on her skin, and he was hyper-aware of the horror that his body was reacting and she would see. All of this was swirling inside of him, but she simply stared at her hand on the wood of the door, wondering at the ordinariness of both. The time at which it was appropriate to say something passed. Eloy cleared his throat, and Hitra, for the first time, noticed that he was there. "I heard voices," he said. She pointed at the door. He reached for it. "No!" she cried, but he opened it, and she was startled by the steamy view of ceramic-coated brick, the recessed tub in the floor, with the water mirror still. The room was empty. Eloy peered into each corner and returned with a towel. His emotions were squirming around in his minds, and thoughts about propriety and where to set his eyes and how to pretend you don't notice wet, bare flesh in front of you. It helped that she was so obviously distressed. He set his eyes on hers, which were darting around, frightened. His eyebrows, which I found pretty and dark, crinkled together. "Are you all right?" Her thoughts were too disordered for me to pick them apart. "What did you see?" For an anxious second, he thought she meant what he saw of her body, but then his mind caught up. "In the bathroom? Was it a spider? A snake? I didn't see anything." Hitra sat down at her desk. Her hands shook. She took out a fresh parchment and overturned the stylus jar. Eloy went into the bathroom again. She heard him drain the tub and run a brief spate of water. The sound was exactly normal, the groan of metal, the high-pitched squeak, the silver cold rush of water. She fumbled with the stylus, trying to fit it into its cleaner. It clattered to the desk, playing out a series of nulls and sets like footprints as it rolled. She grasped her hands together to stop them from shaking and looked down. "I'm naked." "I noticed," Chloe said. He tossed her robe to her. It fluttered open and sailed briefly, but caught against some unseen thickness of the air, not me, and fell into a curve of white on the patterned carpet. Eloy rubbed his nose, feeling helpless even to hand a robe properly. I'll go wait in the anteroom." "No!" Eloy was hopelessly confused. Hitra was way too upset for it to be a random bug. "Hitra, really, what's wrong? Just don't leave me alone right now." She crossed a hand over her breasts and picked up the robe. I'm sorry. I don't know what." She shrugged into the robe and stared at the bathroom door. It was open. Inside, the same ordinary light reflected condensation on the brass fittings and glass tile. She tied her robe. "I'll get you some tea," Eloy said, "and tell Mady you can't make your breakfast meeting." "No, Hitra." He crossed the space between them and retied her robe properly so that the knot was not on its side. "The fire pantry is right there. I'll be in earshot the entire time. You need tea." Her waist was constricted under the sash. He had tied it tighter than she would have. She touched the satin bow, flattening it to her stomach. "Yes, good, thank you. Eloy, A single droplet of moisture ran down the bathroom wall over the tub, collecting smaller droplets as it fell. The wall was unquestionably solid, but she expected it to tear at any moment like film. Why did she think that? She turned her head to the left and saw the red brick of the fire pantry. Likewise, it was solid. She sighed. "I'll get dressed." She watched Eloy test the fullness of the tea kettle with a perverse feeling like she wasn't controlling her own actions. She walked into the bathroom and touched the wall. She pressed her fingers until they turned white and then pink under the nails. She went to her chest of clothes and opened it. This was maddening. I am supposed to know everything, but I couldn't know what had happened if she wouldn't think about it. And I'll end off there. So that's just a little taste of The Gods Awoke and all of the mysteries that our goddess character is facing.